Welcome back. After a car crash that almost ended his life, our next guest fought his way back to full health and now spends much of his time dedicated to helping the homeless.
Indeed he does. We're delighted to welcome Mayo man Padraic Rocliffe this morning. Good morning to you, Padraic.
Good morning, sir.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
We've a lovely positive way to end this story, but it doesn't start out too well, Padraic, does it?
No, unfortunately not. I suppose I was offered a great opportunity with the University of Limerick to go abroad on exchange through an exchange programme with 3 other Irish students at that time. And off we went to Long Beach, California.
Now, how long ago was this, Padraic?
This would have been the end of August 2016.
Okay.
And that was the opportunity that we were given, and obviously we were very excited about it.
Yeah, California, baby, here
absolutely.
we come.
Living the dream, you know.
You're living the dream.
And off we went. We were there about 2 weeks or so, and we decided to make the most of the trip, and we took a kind of a weekend trip to Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
Which is about an 8-hour drive away from where we were at that time. And off we went, and there was about 15 students altogether. 10 travelled in a transit van, and the other 5 of us travelled in a car. And we were about 2 hours into the trip, and unfortunately we suffered a puncture. And would you believe that none of us knew how to change a tyre at that particular time? I was actually on crutches. I twisted my ankle at the time. So a young gentleman pulled up and helped us change the tyre, and away we went again. And really, it was just a matter of minutes before we were involved in a rollover accident in the middle of Death Valley.
So this was a serious car crash. How many of you in the car, first of all?
There was 5 of us in the car. So there was 2 German girls, an American roommate of mine, and an Irish student who had gone out there with me as well.
So tell us what we're seeing there, Padraic.
Yeah, so I suppose what happened was the tyre that had just been changed actually burst and came off the car as we were travelling only about 45 miles an hour or so. So the car dropped and rolled onto myself on the driver's side. And it's true what they say, you know, really does, these things happen in the blink of an eye. And before we knew it, the car had rolled over multiple times and it had landed on its side.
And it landed on the side that you were on, is that right? Or you took the hit?
Yes, absolutely. So 3 of the passengers jumped out of the car, and myself and the driver were a little bit slower to...
So 3 of them walked out of it, literally?
They jumped out the windows,
and yourself and the driver bore the brunt of it?
We bore a big chunk of the brunt.
So tell us about the extent of the injuries then. I mean, how badly injured were you?
Well, at the time, I was totally unaware of the extent of my injuries. You know, I stood up out of the car. Adrenaline is an amazing thing, and I tried to pull myself out of the car and was completely unable. And what happened next really was, was an unbelievable experience. And the only way I can describe it really was that, you know, God spoke to me, and he told me to sit back into the car. He told me to put my back up against the roof of the car, which I did. And bearing in mind at that time, sitting back into a wreck of a car seemed like a crazy idea. He told me to tell the girls to get a pillow from the boot and put it behind my head, which I did. So if you can imagine, I was sitting in a squat position with my back up against the roof,
with a pillow behind you.
Yeah, which actually turned out to be a perfect makeshift spinal position to be in. And bearing in mind at this time, I didn't know the extent of my injuries. It turned out that I'd actually fractured 6 vertebrae in my spine, and 2 in my neck and 4 in my back. We were waiting quite a while for the ambulance.
Still a positive attitude on the hospital bed, it seems.
Absolutely. Well, after that moment I had, you know, an overwhelming sense of calm had come over me. I was worried I was going to be paralysed. I had no feeling down my left-hand side. Once the adrenaline wore off, I was unable to move my head. And I started panicking. I thought I was going to be paralysed. And he spoke to me again, and he told me not to worry. He said that he'd never let me down before, that I wasn't going to be paralysed, that I was going to have a severe neck injury. And as soon as he said that to me, an overwhelming sense of calm came over me, and you know, I fully trusted and believed in the voice that I heard, and I just knew I was going to be okay.
That's an incredible level of faith that you had in that voice. I mean, had you that strong of faith before the accident?
Oh, I've always had a firm faith, you know. Was it at that level? Probably not. You know, I was always very lucky growing up. I was, you know, a competitive swimmer for most of my life, and was able to do some great things in the water. And I always felt that there was something else that was pushing me to those heights.
You always felt like there was something watching over you, didn't you?
Absolutely. So it really was, you know, it was an unbelievable experience, and it was natural. It was very soothing. I didn't even question it. It was only a day or 2 later before I probably realised the significance of it. You know?
And clearly it helped you through what was a hugely difficult time.
Absolutely.
physically and mentally.
Oh, absolutely. It saved my life, you know. I was put in a perfect spinal clamp position in the car naturally, although I didn't know the extent of my injuries at that time. And an ambulance arrived 2 hours later. We were in the middle of nowhere. We had no coverage.
2 hours.
That's so
Yeah,
frightening.
absolutely.
Because you're in the middle of Death Valley.
We had no coverage to ring an ambulance, you see, you know.
So it was until somebody saw you and then went and got help.
Absolutely. They had to drive to the nearest town.
And how, incidentally, how was the driver?
The driver had a lot of cuts and bruises. He had suspected to have swallowed glass at that time,
Oh my God.
which obviously was intense, and I think he was in shock. And a helicopter was called in pretty soon after, and we were flown off to Las Vegas, where I spent the next 11 months in recovery.
But you all five of you came out the other side of it.
Yeah,
With
we did.
Wow.
varying levels.
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
With some serious rehabilitation and a very positive attitude, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a long road. There's no doubt about it. When I got into the trauma unit, I was surrounded by maybe a dozen doctors or so, and I began to realise maybe the seriousness of the situation. And the next 10, 11
I'm
months.
thinking of your
was a-
family at home
I
getting
know.
that news. You know, you're supposed to be on
The
this trip
dreaded
of a
phone call.
lifetime.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
that dreaded phone call, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, I was very lucky. My family and friends, my mum and dad and my brother came out to me immediately, and were by my bedside for the beginning of the recovery. And there was never a day I was left without a text or a phone call. My family went home maybe about 10 days later, and it was great to have them there. But I was also I was happy to see them go home and get back to normality.
Get back to recovery.
So I could just focus on my recovery.
And tell us then why you're here today and how you've taken this event in your life and you've put your focus on one thing in particular.
Yes.
And that's helping homeless people.
Absolutely. Well, I suppose there's a terrible homeless problem, as we know, in the
Chronic-
States,
chronic homeless
as there is here in Ireland. I was over there at Christmas time, and obviously at Christmas time it was a lonely time for me. I was missing my family and my friends, and it was Christmas Day. I walked into a diner to get some food, and there was two homeless people outside, and they were begging for money. And I said, look, I won't give you money, but if you want
I'll
to
feed you.
Yeah, if you want to come in, I'll buy you a meal and we'll have a chat. I was more than happy to have a conversation with somebody at that
Yes,
at that
of
stage.
course,
And in they came, and we had a chat, and it actually turned out that it was a mother and her son, and they'd been evicted from their home. They're unable to pay their bills and fallen a victim of society over there. And it was a story that touched my heart, and I said if I could, I would try and organise something here in Ireland in aid of the homeless.
So you've set up a charity. Tell us about the charity you've set up here.
Yeah, so it's the Shine Light organisation. We set it up last Christmas. It really was just an idea at the beginning. I wanted to work with my family and go up to Dublin on Christmas Day and help the homeless. And the idea took off, and it resulted in our first Shine Light campaign last Christmas on the 17th of December. We'd over 140 fully equipped packs, and in each pack there was a hat, a scarf, a pair of gloves, a pair of socks,
Great idea.
a t-shirt, a
Great
jacket,
idea.
a jumper, a pair of pants, a pair of trainers if we had them, some unperishable food, some hygiene products, and that type of thing. And off we went into Dublin's inner city, and we took over about a 2-kilometre radius of the inner city and ensured that each and every pack got to a homeless hand. So
We're
it was-
seeing some images of you here. Just basics that we take for granted that you're giving out to people.
Absolutely.
So you don't quite have charity status yet, but
No.
it's in its infancy,
Absolutely, yeah.
and you've great intentions and plans for it.
Absolutely. I think we're kind of in the early stages. We're getting as much experience as we possibly can on the streets, and in time we hope to get our
But
charity
also you get
status.
the message out there that you're there and that there is help there. And we'll put all your details up if people want to get in
Exactly.
touch with you and help you
Absolutely.
through the charity. Listen, thank you for sharing the
problem.
story
Thanks very
with us
much.
this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for
Inspirational.
having me.
Continued good health.
Thank you.
Well done. Thanks, Padraic. Now, if
Thanks,
you want to
Padraic.
get involved with Padraic's work, you can contact him on shinealightheroes@gmail.com.
After the break, fashion for a bank holiday getaway. Stay with us.